evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Kane. I'm a music teacher here in Canandaigua and also the chair for music education throughout the district. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome everybody to our first night of jazz in our second annual District Jazz Festival. This concert was born out of a happy problem. Several years ago, we continued to make a one-night concert sort of longer and longer and longer, and as jazz education here within Canandaigua sort of clearly expanded, we really felt that it was important to just open this up to 2 nights. We have had an incredibly delightful day and a half of learning and teaching and interaction with a tremendous guest artist and jazz trombonist who we'll have a chance to meet throughout the course of this evening. It's been a real thrill to watch these students this afternoon just soak things up with those wide eyes, and to listen to him play was inspirational to me as a teacher, and I certainly hope it was to them as well. Before I introduce Mrs. Perry, I would just like to say a big thank you to everybody for supporting music here in Canandaigua. I'm really proud of all the work of my colleagues and all of the work of these students here on stage. We have a lot of teachers involved in this tonight, and they're all here really chipping in such a big way. I'd also like to give a hand to our theater manager, Mr. Rogers, and all of the student helpers who help make all of this technical stuff possible. Thank you to those people. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Wegmans, who's been a very generous sponsor of this evening's event. Without further ado, let's get to some great music tonight with the 5th grade jazz ensemble and Mrs. Jessica Perry.
night of our Jazz Festival. My name is Jessica Perry, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be up here with our Jazz 5 Army. You just heard Man, I've Got Those Blues with solos from McKenna, Nora, Alexa, and Elliot, and you're going to hear some more fantastic solos tonight. We had a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, as Mr. King told you, getting to know an incredible musician and teacher, and really, really phenomenal example of what it means to be a great musician, but also a great person. Mr. Nick Finzer has joined us from New York City, and we could not be happier to have him here. He was amazing working with our students this afternoon, and we learned a lot from him, and we had a lot of fun. So I would appreciate you giving a warm welcome to our guest artist, Mr. Nick Finzer. Phenomenal guest artist, Mr. Nick Finzer. We are going to continue on with Salt Peanuts, a favorite of this band, and in this one you're going to hear solos from Ellie, Benny, Elliot, a small group featuring Mackenzie, Kendall, Taylor, Luke, Noah, JJ, Avery, Melly, Owen, and Sean. We have a lot of volunteers, which is phenomenal. Another solo from McKenna, and a special feature for all of our trombones. Enjoy Salt Peanuts. loved about Mr. Finzer and that we were so thankful for is that he taught so much about different styles. Even the little time that he spent with us today, we learned so much about the different types of jazz music. Some bebop styles and some more New Orleans classic styles. And this next tune that you're going to hear, When the Saints Go Marching In, is born right out of New Orleans. This is When the Saints Go Marching In, and you're going to hear solos from both Amalia and Ellie. Thank you so much. We hope that you've enjoyed our Jazz 5 portion of the concert so far. We have one more tune for you, and again, it's in a very different style. This tune is Watermelon Man, and I was very thankful. I have to actually give my husband a shout out on this one, because I was wondering what we should play. He said, hey, how about Watermelon Man? And Mr. Kane threw together a quick arrangement for us, which we appreciate very much. And we're going to hear a big solo from our guest artist, Mr. Finzer, and I also want to give a shout out to Billy, who's back there on drums, who you're going to hear a little bit. We hope that you've enjoyed our portion of the concert and that you'll stay tuned to enjoy the rest of the concert tonight, and as well as coming back tomorrow night. All the students on stage have a ticket to come back tomorrow if they'd like to, and we hope that you'll join us for another great night of jazz music. And musicians, before we play our final tune, can we give one more big thank you to Mr. Finzer?
Monday. I'm looking for some hot stuff.
Welcome to our first night of our District Jazz Festival. Behind me, my name is Christine Ingersoll, and behind me is the Academy Jazz Choir, and they are a select group of students in grades 10 through 12, and they mostly perform jazz music. They also perform some pop music as well. Tonight you're going to hear some jazz standards, and you will probably recognize most of them, although the first one, that's probably why you realize, the first one we flip-flopped with the last piece that's in your program. We started with City of Jazz, meaning the city of New Orleans, and we will be ending with Come Fly With Me. Our next piece is a classic ballad, Love Is Here to Stay, followed by a jazz arrangement of another ballad, A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes. Our soloist for that piece is Hannah Pickert. Enjoy our ballads. Mr. Finzer has been working with our ensembles and talking with our students over the past couple of days, and he has imparted some really insightful and inspirational advice, not only in the area of jazz and music, but also just about life and success in general. And we're so glad to have him here working with us and working with our students. So welcome to the stage again, Mr. Finzer. Our soloists for this next piece, Jessica Anderson, Anthony Sedia, and of course, Mr. Finzer.
Fly with me, let's fly, let's fly away. you can lose your blues in a park. Oh, babe, fly with me, let's fly, babe. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. You just say those words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco Bay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Once I get you up there where the air is rarefied, it'll just glide on starry eyes. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you slowly. You make me angels cheer, 'cause we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. It's such a lovely day. You just say no words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon. They say, come fly with me, let's fly. Pack up, let's fly away.
It's still recording.
Oh, you said number 4 isn't on? Okay.
very much. We heard improvised solos from Hannah, Godfrey, and Grace Sainsbury on the trumpet. This is the Academy New Jazz Ensemble. The first tune we heard was a jazz standard called Four, and it was an upbeat arrangement of that. And we're going to transition over to another real standard in the jazz repertoire. This is a tune called Autumn Leaves.
If you learn to talk fast.
Well, we're playing a bunch of standards in new jazz here this evening, and this next piece of music is another standard that you might hear if you were to just, go see a jazz gig anywhere. And it's a tune called "There'll Never Be Another You," and it tends to be an up-paced tune. And this is the first tune that we're going to welcome out to the stage, Mr. Nick Vinzer. like the right time to do it. As I stand here and look at them, there's just a lot of real personal victories on stage, and I kind of wanted to highlight a couple of them throughout the night. We have a cello in jazz band right now. I think that's really cool. And she kind of just joined like in January, and she said, "Could I be a part of this? This seems cool." And I said, "Yes, absolutely." So it's delightful to have her on board. I'll share a couple of our other success stories as the night unfolds. Okay. This next piece of music is associated with one of America's greatest jazz composers, arguably, and that would be Duke Ellington. And this tune is called "Take the A Train," and I believe that the lyrics were written by Billy Strayhorn. Right? Billy Strayhorn. Yeah. Billy Strayhorn wrote the lyrics, and the story goes, Billy was supposed to go to Duke Ellington's apartment, and they were going to collaborate and talk about a tune to write. And then Duke basically said, you know, you get off at the station and you just take the A train. And then the rest was kind of history. And that's where the lyrics for this tune came from. We're not going to sing it, because nobody up here wants to do that. Nobody out there wants us to do that either. But this is a really great instrumental arrangement of this, and this tune has been done in so many different ways. And we've had such a great experience this year listening to so much jazz music. And we should do that every day. Yeah, we listen to it every day. And we just heard a whole number of different artists performing Take the A Train, from brand new artists like Nikki Yanuskowski to Ella Fitzgerald's real classic stuff. And we've modified the arrangement a little bit, and this is our version of Take the A Train. organ on the drum set back there. So I have another little success story here on stage. We also have a French exchange student who came to me at the very beginning of the year and said, "Hi, I'm from France, I'm Claire." And she's in New Jazz this year, and that has been an incredible learning experience for all of us. So that's Claire. I took French in high school. I tried to take French in high school, and it's been really delightful to just butcher the language and just have her correct me one way. So it's been a good time. This next tune is a little slower, and this is a tune called "Stolen Moments," and it's a real nice sort of smoky, hazy kind of ballad. And the original recording for this is just something that is a staple in the jazz world. It's something really required listening for all of us. We're going to feature sort of a group at the beginning on the melody, and then really get a chance to open up this tune for some really nice improvisation. So there's a track called "Stolen Moments."
Stolen
good number of big bands. And this piece is right in the pocket for us. This is it's a little funk chart, and we'll be featuring a little bit of funky alto saxophone on this one. Here's Mr. Basket. some more success stories. Sometime in August, when we were putting the school pep band together, a young lady came to me and said, "Hey, I think I'm interested in playing bass." And I said, "Yes, you should totally play bass." And Canandaigua on bass back there, who had never really been playing bass before, took on that task and has an incredibly glorious school year, including playing bass for the school music code. It's just incredible. So congrats, we got Hannah back there. And then another, this is just like a collision of worlds I've done this year. So it's very happy for me. Sometime at the end of last school year, my recycling in my classroom was being taken out. And this young man walked in and we started talking, and I realized I had taught him French horn like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, in 4th or 5th grade. And I said, "Man, you should totally still be in band." He's like, "Yeah, I know, I'm not sure why." He's like, "You know, I play drums." I said, "Well, you should come back." And then the rest was history. And Alex Clip back there on drum set has been having an incredible school year. Alex, drum set is way more glamorous than the French horn, so good call. I asked, well, first of all, whenever we have a guest visitor in, and we have a lot of them in here, and it's my goal that we try and expose all of our students to as many guests from the outside as possible so we can sort of get a taste of what perhaps the real world is like. Whenever we invite a guest in, it's always my goal that we bring in some incredible musicians. When they also happen to be incredibly wonderful people and incredibly nice people, it is such a phenomenal collision there. And it's typically by no accident that great people happen to be, super nice people happen to also be the most successful musicians. We have been joyful enough to have worked with Mr. Binzer here since yesterday afternoon, really. And he has been, even today, we got to the elementary school a little bit early and I said, "Hey man, we got 40 minutes to kill. Do you want to go like crash a classroom?" And he's like, "Yes, let's go do it." And he sat down in a circle with a bunch of kindergartners and played trombone for them. And it was just such a touching, I know. And you know, you never know what that's going to mean someday. So I really want to thank Nick for all of his generosity, for being such a great guy and an incredible musician. He has like a whole bunch of CDs that he's made, and some of them are available out there in the atrium. And I asked him if he could maybe share a little something, and he just came off this big tour across the whole country, and he's here with us. But I asked him if he'd maybe share a little something with us that would maybe be just by himself, a special moment here. And I'm actually, Nick, would you introduce this piece? And this is Nick, by the way.
Well, first, I'd just like to say a big thank you, Mr. Kane, for having me. It's been a pleasure to work with you. If you don't know, I did grow up in Rochester. I went to Hilton High School, grew up over there, and eventually made my way to New York City by way of going to the Juilliard School. And big influence for me, the reason that I started playing jazz was a high school ensemble that I played in that focused on the music of Duke Ellington, which you heard Take the A Train not long ago. And that music changed my world, changed my life, kind of sent me on a new path down to New York, and all that has ensued from there. But on this latest record that I put out, I wanted to share a piece that's a little less known of Duke's, that was originally a solo piano piece that he actually wrote for the Queen of England. And it came out as part of a record later that was called The Queen's Suite, and originally they printed just one LP and gave it to the Queen, and it was just for her, but then the music was so great on that they decided that they should release it. And so I'm going to play now for you a solo rendition of that piece, and this is called Single Petal of a Rose.
Jazz music is something that is unequivocally American. I mean, it really did, its roots are tied here in America, and the city that we associate jazz with perhaps the most would be New Orleans. And this next tune is a good old throwback kind of to the New Orleans feel of drumming and music making, and it's a very joyful piece of music and one that our students really sort of becoming a cult classic here. This is Victor Goyen's arrangement on second line, and Victor is a performer in the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra down in New York City. So we've got a bunch of soloists, we're going to have a good old time with this one. Here we go. I want to thank everybody for hanging with us here to the very, very end. Tomorrow night, we've got a whole other evening full of music. We've got the middle school jazz ensemble, who's just got a really energetic set. Our new jazz ensemble, CA Jazz Ensemble, has a concert set, and then in the second half, real live dancing will take place right there. It's a lot of fun if you've been to the Friday night performance before. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting music throughout the school year. Huge thank you to Mr. Finzer for being here tonight. If you're ever in New York, just find where he lives, like knock on his door. No, don't do that. I'm just kidding. Because he's never in New York. He's like always somewhere. He's going to Phoenix and then like Europe, he was telling me. It's just like all over the place. Okay, we're going to close with a tune called Gospel John. Another one we spent a whole lot of time watching videos and learning about how people have performed this piece. Maynard Ferguson, who was a very famous jazz trumpeter, this was his gig. This was a piece that he really made famous. On drum set, we'll feature Alex Click a little bit on this one. We certainly hope you enjoy. Thank you.